with everything you needed. All the healing, the clarity, the empowerment was already within you, just waiting to be unlocked. Welcome to Michelle's Healing Haven podcast. Here is a space where your intuition is going to take the lead. Your transformation, let it begin. Here, dissolve those fears into trust. And healing, well, it's going to become a way of life. Thank you for being here and joining me on this journey. Before we dive in, I want to let you know that additional resources and insights from today's episode are going to be available at my blog on michelleshealinghaven.com. Check it out before or after the podcast. I will always try to put additional resources that are helpful. They could be books, it could be meditations, or just some simple information and tidbits that are very helpful. You can also sign up for my newsletter there as well. Hello and welcome. My name is Michelle and thank you for joining me today. Today's episode is going to be about energy centers. Episode 1, we spoke about energy, and episode 2, we spoke about the intuition, and 3, manifestation, which is our creation. Well, where does all this energy lie in the body? That's our energy centers, our chakras. So that's what we're going to be speaking about today. There are 7 of them. Today, I will introduce chakras themselves. I will also talk about Kundalini energy, and then we're going to talk about the first 2 chakras, the root and the sacral. There's going to be a lot of interesting information here, so take notes if you need to. Get a pen, paper, and let's go. Let's go. And again, as always, there will be resources on my blog that will enhance and give extra things that you can do for you or to learn more, okay? I'm already going to start off with, there is a book called The Book of Chakras. It looks at the energy centers from multiple different cultures all around the world and shows you different insights of what terms this specific culture calls this and what terms calls that, and you can see the differences. We have all had a time in our life where it was safe to just trust what we can touch, what we can see, and what we can hear. However, we've all had times where we know that there's more than that. Sometimes it's difficult to trust what you cannot touch, what you cannot see, and what you cannot hear. But energy is everywhere. Everything is made of energy. As in episode 1, if you need more information about that, the first podcast episode, that's what we spoke about. We spoke about energy. Each part of the body has a different level of frequency that is tied to it. As you shift through the body, the frequency becomes higher in vibration. Those energy centers are universally called chakras. I say universally because it is not just one culture, it is not just one country, it is universally observed. Now, there's different translations of the meaning and different energy behind each chakra that each different culture calls the energy. For example, the universal life force energy can be called chi, ki, prana. The energy itself can be called many things, but it is still observed in the same manner. Now, some cultures believe there are way more than 7, and most acknowledge sub-chakras, but we're going to focus on the main 7 chakras that are universally known in the East and the West. In simplistic terms, a chakra is a spinning disk of energy. There are 7 main energy centers of the body that we are going to observe. Now, I'm going to talk about a few more things that have to do with chakras that might be a little bit more advanced, but we'll see where we go with this, okay? Each chakra is associated with a specific physical organ of the body. Now, there are a few times where the organ in different cultures might not be the same. I will address that if they are different, but the whole purpose is that organ manages all the energy that goes through the body for that specific area. It has unique physical, psychological, and spiritual energy to direct to allow the body to be at its most well-being state that it can be. So I know that we're usually talking about these little tiny little one little energy center discs. However, the chakras are a little bit more complex than that. I'm going to include a chart that gives a better example to this side view, but there is a front and there is a back, and they are like mini swirling vortexes. Each different chakra has a different amount of vortexes, and they're all at a different frequency. So when you're going up the body from the root to the crown, which is the highest one in the body, you are going to see that the vortexes, actually, if you were looking at them, are going to be different. Now, if you have ever seen a chakra symbol, okay, there are symbols for each of the chakras. They have a specific color symbol in Sanskrit, and they have little lotus petals around them. The amount of lotus petals lets you know how many vortexes that chakra has. Okay, so technically it's not just one little tiny center. So I want you to understand that it is a lot more complex than diving into one little energy center. Okay, I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. The goal of a chakra is to manage whatever energy comes their way that matches their energy band specifically. So for example, something comes in regarding fear and stability, it's going to go to the root. That's a vibrational match for the root chakra. All of the chakras, though, are still intertwined at some level. One problem will affect something else. It's almost like a domino effect, which is also why focusing on something that might be surface level can actually come from a different place if you're trying to get to the start or the cause of what's going on. So allow yourself to be open when you're looking at some of the chakras or trying to cleanse a part of a chakra, that you could be cleansing a chakra, but maybe not getting to the root of the problem. Now, if you are familiar with tarot or the terms divine masculine, divine feminine, this next bit of information is going to be very familiar. In the tarot, you have the emperor, which is the divine masculine, and the empress, which is the divine feminine. The goal of the body is to balance the two, to be in masculine energy, feminine energy. We all have masculine and feminine energy. And in the body itself, the left side of the body is the yin. The right side of the body is the yang. Yin and yang. Most people have heard that term, at least. And it's a balance, and it's a complete wholeness, okay? And there is a balance to that. The bottom three chakras are more masculine in nature. The top three chakras are more feminine in nature. The heart is at the center. When we are going through the chakras, there's other points in the body that are going to be important to know that they're there, and that's how some of these things are connected, but I'm not going to dive into them. So we have the meridians or the nadis. It depends on what culture you're going to. They call the energy channels different. But the point is, there are more channels than the centers that bring the energy up and down the body. Most times, the vortexes in the chakras spin clockwise. The goal is usually to have them spin clockwise. If you have ever used a pendulum, you can put a pendulum over one of the 7 centers and you can see if a chakra is open. You can see if a chakra is blocked. You can see how fast the energy is moving and in what direction. Be mindful, there are a few people, I have been told 5 to 10%, that all of the chakras go counterclockwise, and that is natural for their energy center. So be mindful if you're doing that. A pendulum is a great way to experiment on your chakras. I will put more information on my blog about using a pendulum for energy centers specifically. Now, as I said before, the chakras allow you to process in 3 ways. They do physical, psychological, and spiritual. So in the physical processing, there's a physical part of the body, specific colors and specific sounds that resonate with that area. This is where sound therapy comes in. This is where color therapy also comes in. Psychological processing comes in the means of beliefs, feelings, and the psychological constructs that have come through experience. And third, the spiritual processing processes the well-being and growth of the mature sense of self. Each chakra specifically correlates to certain psychic abilities as well. So when you're trying to grow spiritual abilities, there are certain blocks that will need to be processed in order to allow that specific ability to come through stronger. The chakras are memory banks. They hold memories of what has gone before. That's important because they remember things we even mentally forget. When somebody is a young child, if they're in a violent home, their energy centers remember that. A lot of times, children that grow up with anxiety or fear, and you're like, I don't understand where they got it from. It could be from the young age and they couldn't process it and they stored it as their own. One thing that you will notice going through a lot of this is, am I storing energy that's not mine? That will affect your energy system if you're storing beliefs and energy that are from other people or loved ones when you were growing up. Each chakra also matures at a different time in one's life. I will be going over with each chakra when it originally forms and when people tend to go back to actually maturing that energy. Each chakra is also tied to an element. Ether is an element of the throat chakra, and I will talk more about that when I get to the throat chakra specifically, but each chakra is tied to a specific element. So the big question here is, why do I care about my energy centers? Why? What can they do for you? If you were here for episode 1 with energy, you understand how important energy is in allowing yourself to grow. Changing your subtle energy makes physical change. Now, in quantum physics, we're going to jump to quantum physics here. In quantum physics, the belief is everything is connected. Whether this molecule is right here or a light year away, they can still interact. They are still connected. In the study of chakras, oftentimes they call it a biofield, which is a complex electromagnetic field within and around the body. And when you make changes in the biofield, the body is also affected. Now, if you make changes in the body, the biofield is affected. They interact, okay? And the biofield is energy. Now, it allows you to override that time and space problem, per se. Because in the quantum physics, they consider energy non-local. Like, you don't have to be there. Anyone here who's had energy healing, distance energy healing, the concept, I'm not there with you, but it doesn't mean it's not doing anything. Changes in the subtle energy affect the body. Changes in your mindset. Thoughts are energy. The thoughts affect the body. Go look back to a time where everything was chaos in your mind. It was probably chaos around you. So be mindful. The reason why we want to be more aware of our energy centers is to grow and outsmart them and enjoy life more and be more of ourselves. If you want more information, there are many different quantum books out there that talk about energy. I have a specific book about the chakras. It's 826 beautiful pages long. I will put it in the blog. So if you would like to learn more, there are so many more pieces of information that I could add to this. But long story short, chakras are important and they exist and you have control over them. That's the beautiful part. To add to the main chakras, I want to make some connection points that might be helpful when you are trying to self-reflect. So some of the emotional challenges that we face in each chakra are going to be a little different. So I'm going to outline that really quick to all 7 chakras, even though I know we haven't talked about them yet. But when you are listening to things about the chakra, you might be able to pinpoint where you're at or what's going on in your physical body, emotional body, and understand it a little bit more. So I'm going to add to this. In the root chakra, the first one, fear. Fear is the main emotion looked at when you're in that. Your survival might be threatened. It can force energy from your lower to the higher chakras. The second chakra, guilt. Guilt prevents us from reaching towards others, and it obstructs our emotional and our sexual bonding. Third, shame. Shame deters our spontaneity, our self-esteem, our sense of personal power. And this can block our willpower, and it works against us. Fourth chakra, grief. It dampens our love. It dampens the light in our heart. It causes us to feel extra burdened. It's a very heavy energy. The fifth chakra, lies. Misinformation, it keeps us from relating to the world. It's the lack of speaking one's truth, and it's seeing things from a distorted point of view, from the perspective of lies. The sixth chakra, illusion. When we see situations inaccurately, we miss the big picture, we don't perceive the truth, and if that's paired with the previous lies, it's very distorted, right? The seventh chakra is all about attachment. Holding on to something or someone when it's pointless, it impedes our relationship with ourselves, with the universe. It's holding on to something that does not align. The concept of letting go. Those emotions are going to be very prominent in those chakras. In the first podcast, when we were talking about energy centers and talking about how energy frequency works, you can understand that all of those are actually, the first 4 are levels. When you are able to work through shame, fear, guilt, grief, those 4 things, you are able to energetically grow. Your body's energy is emanating something different, but it also walks you up to the 5th chakra to focus on what the truth is. When we can focus on a part of the body, even if we don't understand where that emotion might be coming from, we at least have some sort of ability to start peeling back the layers. Before we continue to the first chakra, I want to talk about the Kundalini energy in the body. The Kundalini energy flow is what unlocks the chakras and moves the energy up the body. This is what enables the spiritual growth and the more enhanced version and vision of self. Oftentimes, when you look at a diagram, whether it's for yoga or mudras, there's a serpent. There's the serpent going up the base of the spine, or the serpent, 2 serpents climbing a ladder that intertwine the feminine and the masculine. But the Kundalini is known as that serpent. So when the Kundalini activates at the base of the spine, it's going to usually push forward the energy to make us look at certain specific things that have been blocking our energy centers, okay? This would be a dark night of the soul moment, if you are familiar with that term, but I'm going to read some of the typical blocks and the lesson that we're trying to learn out of it, okay? Some of the blocks for the first set of energy for the Kundalini would be childhood abuse issues, financial challenges, addictions, repressed sexuality, identity confusion, lifestyle, career, potentially fatal illnesses, greed, envy, and materialism. The point of this energy is to release ourselves from the trappings of the material world and establish the self in totality. It's the path to being authentically us. It's when you start allowing things to be let go of, feel more secure in the self, right? That Kundalini energy will then continue to move up the body. And when it moves through a chakra, it does give the energy for you to be more authentic. It kind of pushes some of the things to the surface, okay? Usually, the Kundalini will awaken at a different point in everybody's life. It's not something that can be forced, and the challenges around you usually will let you know if that's happened. When it gets to the second point of where there's a block, it's going to be the heart chakra, okay? That's when you start questioning your lovability, how worthiness, how much you deserve things, relationship needs, codependency, feeling separate from yourself. It also talks about heart, lung, and breast conditions. And the lesson here is to see that everything is connected, learning unconditional love. There's a lot to that, okay? But that's the second block. Usually at that block, and with the heart chakra, you're going to start becoming more of a spiritual being. That's the challenge. Things are more, I want to grow into a higher version of myself. And the third and final block is at the third eye, which is at your sixth chakra. And that's where you start looking at your appearance, body image, future, goals and dreams. Can also have vision issues, perception, learning, and it's how to release the duality, how to embrace joy, fullness, and a lot of times teach that out to other people. So those are the three main blocks of a Kundalini. That's the energy that's flowing up the body. There are many different versions of what age they start at, what's the pattern around it. But the main point is when you are able to go through the blocks, you might actually start feeling that energy flow in your body specifically. Now, with energy healers, a lot of times they can feel their energy flow and your energy flow. Okay. The more you practice mindfulness, the more that you work on some of these things that block the energy itself, you're going to actually be able to feel that in your own body if you give yourself time. And I'm going to go back to the term that I used before with the dark night of the soul. Sometimes the Kundalini energy, when it moves up, it can be very sudden. This can be a gradual process, or it can be sudden and it chaos. The body, it's like a light switch has been turned on. So just be mindful. Don't try to force this energy. By working through mindset, by working through chakras, by working through and caring about yourself, you're going to be able to move the energy naturally for your body, and trust that your body is going to be able to move energy where it needs to. The more that the Kundalini energy is allowed to move in your body, one, the better you're going to feel, the more enlightened you're going to be, and the ability to grow is going to be enhanced. Now, with the Kundalini rising and working on your chakras, I am going to acknowledge this. There is an outline here of you have contemporary psychic abilities, and then they have a list of ancient psychic senses from the Hindu dialects. I'm actually going to add those and their descriptions into my blog. I'm going to make a PDF of that. So if you are interested in that, go to that. It's a huge list. And there are so many things that I can tell you right now you don't even know is a thing. And you could actually be on that list. For example, aeromancy, literally the study of the shapes in the clouds as a form of communication. So if you are curious about that, go look at the list. Okay. We all have the ability to be intuitive and psychic. We all do. You know, even the listening to our intuition is a part of that. So be mindful as you're going through this that there's a lot more out there energetically if you allow yourself to be open to it. All right. So now we're going to go into our first chakra, which is going to be the root chakra. So the root chakra in Sanskrit, I am going to give the Sanskrit to all of these, is a Muladhara. Okay. I apologize if my pronunciation is off, but that's okay. The Muladhara. It's between the root and the reproductive organs, and it is considered in most cultures where the Kundalini resides. This is our chakra that speaks about safety, security, and survival, the basic needs of us in the 3D. That is what this stands for. This chakra literally holds our identity. It roots us into our ancestry, our daily lives, and our fundamental identity. It is who we are. This is a very grounding energy center. It drives self-preservation. Oftentimes, when we learn fear at a young age, this is the chakra that holds the fearful memories to protect us from future fearful memories. Main color of the root chakra is red. This chakra is seen as being awoken while the child is still in the womb, before they are born, up until 2 years. Now, some of the other cultures believe that it doesn't fully grow until a lot later, but they all see that it starts before the child is born. For example, a child can have energetic memories and repeat something later in life bodily that the mother was experiencing during pregnancy. It is literally stored memory, but it's not a stored memory of the child. It is a stored memory of the parents. So if parents are going through something crazy right before childbirth, that child is going to have that in their root. So sometimes fear and anxiety could be an irrational thing coming from a child who doesn't know why they have it. Energy healing comes in very handy when you're trying to clear the biofield, per se, of somebody who has not really experienced what energy they've taken in from somebody else. The first chakra, the root, is all about protecting the self. Now, the adrenal gland is the gland that is associated with the root chakra, and there's an array of body parts that the root chakra is a part of. So you're going through muscles, bones, hips, the immune system, the bladder, the lower extremities, large intestine. The bladder is also part of the sacral. And that's why I'm doing the sacral today as well. So some of the body parts for the lower two are sort of intertwined. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the related illnesses to the first chakra being out of balance. You have eating disorders, hemorrhoids, constipation, sciatica, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, leg, knee, and foot problems, varicose veins, arthritis, skin problems, disorders of the bones and the teeth, sexual dysfunctions, reproductive issues, and blood deficiencies. The root chakra focuses on all of the feelings and beliefs that contribute to a sense of safety and security. The primary belief that this chakra governs is the "you are worthy of existing." Anger, sadness, fear, disgust, joy, and survival reactions, rage, resentment, futility, despair, terror, abandonment, and a bunch of other things, right? They come from that energy center to be processed. When our beliefs align with our inner true self, we find it's easier to be safe, feel safe, and be in a different mindset and health. When the identity of the self is compromised, when we believe we're unwanted, undeserving, or unworthy, the primal survival needs in the root chakra, they take over. This can be seen in insufficient with finances, relationships, being unhappy with your career, or where you even are at that point in your life. The important archetypes of the root chakra are going to be the mother and the victim. So the mother is the more positive, giving the maternal sympathy, spiritual transcendence of reason. It's very helpful instincts, and it's everything that cherishes, sustains, and fosters growth, especially in safety and security. Now, on the opposite end of that, you have the victim. The victim archetype is the feeling of being used by somebody else. And it is a very, like it sounds, it's our problems are not our fault, it's everyone else's fault. That's the victim mentality. When you are looking at growth, looking at understanding other people, maybe understanding how your energy centers have grown and where blocks may be, the first place to start is usually the root. If you are in a victim mentality or are having a lot of health issues that were any of the ones that were described, those can often be alleviated by working on the root chakra itself. Now, mind you, we all have free will and we all have decisions and actions that we do to back up the energy, because actions are also energy, thoughts are energy, choices are energy. Everything is energy. So everything we do has to embody where we want to go. Manifestation episode 3, if you need more information on that. However, the ability to see old patterns in what we did allows you to shift out of that. So now let's talk about what a balanced or a deficient or an excess of the first chakra, okay? Somebody who has a balanced first chakra they feel very safe, they feel very prosperous, they are grounded in their reality, they feel in control of themselves, and they are able to calm themselves in the moment. The world doesn't control them. Now, somebody who has a deficiency, not enough energy, they might feel disconnected. You have fear, anxiety, being underweight. They might be very self-destructive, feeling unlovable, and poor finances. Now, somebody with an overactive, it could be overeating, somebody who's very greedy, somebody who feels like they need to hoard, the hypochondria, paranoia, laziness, fear of change, obsession with security, and rigid boundaries. There's a balance. This is something, I guess, that might also be of use. Every energy center has a balance. And we are human. We are not perfect. So it's finding that balance, right? When you are trying to find balance, especially in the root, a lot of it's going to be going back to everybody's favorite place of childhood, because there's a lot of patterns that might repeat now, but the source of them is from a longer time ago. So be patient with yourself, especially in the three-dimensional fear. It's going to reside more in the root than anywhere else. Okay, so now we're going to talk about one of the best ways to help your root chakra is going to be going outside and standing in the dirt. The element that is associated with the root chakra is, you guessed it, earth. Being out in nature is something that is probably going to be the most beneficial, whether allowing energy to leave the body into the earth or pulling energy from the earth. You are going to want to go out and spend time in nature. So let's talk about what spiritual abilities and or intuitive abilities come from the root chakra. When it comes to the clair abilities, clairgustance and clairtangency are probably the main two that you look at for the root chakra. And clairgustance is clear tasting. You taste something that isn't there. Your body is associating taste. Like you're just doing something and all of a sudden you taste food you haven't eaten, that kind of thing. You also have clairtangency, touching what isn't present, feeling something that's not there. Also deals with psychometry, which is the ability to pick up an item and read the energy from it, or get something else, use another psychic sense to get something else out of an item just by touching it. The 5 bodily senses are very intertwined with the root chakra and the mastery over the earth and feeling the physical, stuff in the physical, okay? Smell is probably the most prominent from the root chakra. And the biggest gain in the root chakra is to work through greed and work through the attribute of patience. If you are a very impatient person, the root chakra has something for you. If you are trying to gain at the expense of other people, the root chakra has something for you. There is a balance. In order to help your root chakra, I'm going to give a few things here that will help enhance and clear out some of the energy from the root chakra. So first of all, the frequency of the root chakra is 396 hertz. So 396 hertz meditations are going to be very useful. Sound healing is very, very easy and can assist. Now, mind you, the mindsets and the thoughts and beliefs behind these a lot of times have to be cognitively worked through, but getting rid of some of the energy that is not yours and allowing the energy to come through properly and more efficiently can always help you get from A to B much easier. So I am going to, in the blog, I'm going to list 396 hertz background music. So something that'll run in the background. And then I'm actually going to have a meditation specifically to improving the root chakra. Number 2, go spend time in nature, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, feet on the ground. If you meditate in nature, even better. Allow yourself to adjust some of the energy center with your everyday mindfulness. My favorite, the third, journal. Write down the fear-based. Anything fear-based of the world around you is going to be rooted somewhere in the root. And now we're going to talk about the second chakra, which is the sacral chakra. The second chakra in Sanskrit is Svadhisthana. This chakra is located underneath the belly button, and the color is orange. The positive qualities of the chakra are joy, faith, and a lot of energy. And as I spoke before about the root chakra and the Kundalini, there are some that believe that the energy sits in the second chakra, not the first. Either way, the Kundalini is at the bottom chain of the first two chakras in the beginning. Now, this chakra is said to come into being anywhere from 6 months to 2 years of age. When a child is growing, in the first part, the only chakra, the only energy center that is present is the root, of which why it's very important to the first few years of a child's life of what they pull in, right? So this one, though, talks about your emotions. It talks about depths, feelings, just overall how we're able to express feelings. This chakra is tied to the sexual organs directly. This chakra controls the emotions, creativity, and sensuality. The main gland associated is going to be the ovaries for women and the testes for men. The body parts that the second chakra rules are all of the sexual organs. It is also the lower vertebrae, the appendix, the upper intestines, and parts of the kidneys and digestive organs, which is why the root and the sacral both affect the digestion and the bladder and the kidneys. The kidneys are technically in both, okay? Those two chakras are very intertwined and extremely important with one another. Some of the health issues that arise due to the sacral being off track, per se, you're going to have reproductive, urinary issues, sexual dysfunctions, lower back pain, sciatica, joint problems, appendicitis, most of all the itises, disease of the bowel, and compulsions including carbohydrate addictions. Psychologically, this chakra links the emotional reaction with emotional attachment. So a lot of unhealthy attachments are usually born out of this chakra. So in a way to fulfill, for example, emotional unavailability of a parent, there could be an addiction emotionally that somebody is attached to, like overeating. This is the chakra that would be over that. And now I'm going to link this back to the Kundalini with shadow work. When the Kundalini is activated and goes through an energy center, it's going to show you the shadow side. So for example, when the Kundalini is stimulating this chakra, it's going to stimulate what makes you feel envious, jealous, rageful, greedy. It's going to illuminate those beliefs that you've acquired that cause the prejudice, the resentment, and the fears behind it, okay? So just be mindful when you are feeling something that doesn't feel the greatest, it's going back and seeing where did that belief come from? And oftentimes you're going to go very, very far back for the first two because of what you've learned that might not even be something you consciously know. The positive accepted belief of the sacral chakra is that we are lovable in relationship to others and can trust our emotions to help us steer the way. It is actually following the emotions in a healthy manner. Now, the positive archetypes are actually the Emperor and the Empress, which I kind of explained earlier, but it's that divine masculine and feminine and the balance. The not so great is the martyr, who uses their suffering to gain pity or establish control. And I know that that sounds weird, but when you look at the archetype of the martyr, it's almost like a self-sacrificing, but it gains and makes you feel better because of the pity and the other energy that comes back, if that makes sense. So being mindful, being a martyr is actually trying to control the situation. So be mindful. Somebody out there needs to hear that. Now, this is the chakra where creativity is born. The really creative people in the world, this is a lot of times where they are able to stabilize this energy. The expressiveness here, it literally can allow somebody the desire to leave the unique mark on the world. They are the people that are unlike anybody else. Yes, we're all unique, but some people will step out of their comfort zone and put their energy into that. It's also somebody who would take responsibility for how they feel, what they believe, what they desire. And there's a level of compassion for everybody. Now, I know that the heart chakra, everybody's like, oh, heart feeling. This center has a lot to do with emotional feeling. And a lot of the times we move past it. We just go, oh, it's sexual energy. It has a lot more to do with emotions in general. The element of this energy center is water, which is water is all about the emotions. So be mindful. Sometimes we get stuck in that heart chakra when we're thinking about the chakras. Make sure that you're giving your sacral enough energy as well. So we're going to talk about when the second chakra is balanced, imbalanced, and deficient. So when the second chakra is balanced, it's a very friendly energy, vitality, the ability to be sexual, to be sensual, feel satisfied, the ability for proper bonds. It is the non-attachment, okay? The ability to be oneself but still be connected. Deficiency are going to include both beliefs about the body, beliefs about the self that are very distorted, self-denial, fear of change, lack of social skills, desire, and a lack of wanting to be creative. It's a very following everybody else energy. And an excess of the sacral is going to look at more of addictions to something, okay, whether it's sex, romance, shopping, substances, invasiveness towards others, like trying to control other people's emotions, being very manipulative sexually, manipulative emotionally, codependency, and just overly attached. It's a very attached energy. And this is not for everybody, but something that is known about the sacral chakra, as we are talking about water and the moon. The moon itself is the divine feminine, right? Feminine energy. There is a strong correlation between the menstrual cycle of a woman and the moon. So sometimes you might line up with the moon cycle. That's normal. So we have our intuitive abilities. Okay, let's talk about them. So something in the old texts that they believed about the sacral, there's two things that really stick out. You lose the fear of water. So if you have a fear of water, that still ties back to the sacral. Okay, so be mindful. If you have a fear of water, it ties back to the sacral. And yes, there could be something that you cognitively think of, but it doesn't mean you can't work through it. And the second thing is the second chakra, when it is mastered, conquers death. So the concept of death and the fear maybe associated with it or anything else associated with it is actually stored in the sacral. Now, when you are trying to grow spiritual gifts, you're going to notice the claircognizance, it's clear knowing, clairgustance, clear tasting, which is also in the first one, and clairsentience, clear sensing, and clairtangency, which is in the first one, which is reading energy of what you can touch or objects you are near. Again, I am going to put a list PDF of all the different abilities in the blog, so you can actually go look at that. I'm only listing one of the main clairs. There's a lot of lists here of things that you can basically do better with the more that you work on that chakra. The sacral is all about unattaching yourself and finding the whole piece that you have already in yourself and what belief, what pattern, what is blocking that. So now let's give some tips here and some exercises. So first of all, it is 417 on the hertz. I will provide a meditation and a background to the 417 for the sacral chakra. And a lot of times you're going to notice there is something that says root and sacral or lower chakras. You can do any of the three, okay? The first three chakras are considered the lower. The second thing is I am going to put in an exercise that is called left nostril breathing. Now, the left nostril is tied to the right side of the brain, which relates to your intuition, your emotion, and your creativity. It's a really good exercise to allow the energy to flow through the flowing channels in the body, the meridians, the nadis, whatever we want to call them for the purpose being. The point of it is you want to reset some of that. Now, I am also going to add another journal prompt here. What are you attached to that might be irrational? And I'm going to say, example, fear of water was what comes out because we're talking about water. But what attachments do you think might be unhealthy that you're trying to change? Is it an eating habit? Is it a codependency habit? If you're looking at those habits, that's going to be a sign that the sacral chakra has something for you. And oftentimes, again, the sacral and the root are intertwined in some of these lessons. So be mindful that every little thing you do for an energy center of your body, it's going to help somewhere else too. And it could also enlighten you more in an area, whether it's ability-wise or whether it's just knowledge-wise. Allow yourself to feel through the changes as they come. All right, now let's pull our oracle messages for today. I have the animal spirits first. Let's see, what is the person who's found this? What's important right now in their life? What's important? We've got, well, I think I got 3 cards. We have Bobcat, the Bobcat spirit. Life is a mystery. Allow yourself to move forward even if you don't know what the next steps are or where you're headed to, okay? Life is a mystery. We do have take a leap of faith. This is somebody, you are moving in a direction you've never been. Keep going. Time to collaborate. We have the ants, the grasshoppers, and the bobcats. Work with people. Learn. Go study. Time to collaborate. Maybe you're going to start a business with somebody. Maybe you're going to make new friends, find a new community. But there's a taking a leap of faith. With the grasshopper here, it's new journey. It's a new chapter. It's a new journey. Allow yourself to keep going, okay? With the crown, the grasshopper's wearing a crown. It's a lucky time. It's a lucky time. Now, I was also pulled to grab a card from my empath oracle deck. So we're going to grab that next. All right, let's see. What's important here? The person who's found this, person who's still on this beautiful podcast. Okay, loving the self on all levels. This is self-growth. Somebody is on a self-mastery, self-growth. This is going to be somebody who's probably very compassionate to everybody else and is needing to learn how to be compassionate towards the self. They're maybe very understanding of the people around them, but they expect themselves to be perfect and do better and be better. And this is going to be somebody who might be very hard on themselves, but you're learning how to love you in every facet you possibly can. And when you do that, you're also going to be able to love the people around you more. I have trusting in destiny at the bottom. You're seeing this, rather hearing this for a reason. This deck is all about seeing though. So seeing is important. I will take a picture of this and put it on my blog. But if this message is pulling to you, there is a dove in here. I see a dove. There's lots of blues. But the whole point of the empath oracle is these pictures are very, 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 very color-based. So if colors speak to you, I would highly recommend going to check that out. All right? Again, if you are here, you got this for a reason. Thank you for joining me for episode 4. I hope you learned a lot. We went over a lot today. We went over what the chakras are. We went over what the Kundalini is in its simplistic form. And we went over the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and tools to assist us in our learning energy. If you are looking for a personalized approach to work through some of these energetic blocks and grow some of these spiritual abilities, check out my website or send me a message on my website. Make sure to visit the blog for more free resources. We have a lot of resources from this episode that will be on there. Also, the oracle card information will also be there. I want to thank everybody for coming. You guys are phenomenal. The next episode is going to be the 3rd, 4th, and 5th chakra. The following will be the last 2 chakras. And I will have a bonus. So in 2 weeks, when I release one, I will have the bonus of 2 other chakras that are very important to me that I do observe, and some more information. And I will also answer any Q&A questions that people have left on this episode or next episode. So make sure you leave any Q&A comments. If your comment doesn't have to do with chakras, that's okay. I will add it on. So if you do have a question that can be asked about episode 1 of energy, episode 2 of intuition, episode 3 of manifestation, or 4, 5, or 6, which are going to be the ones for the chakras, put it on a comment. I will be able to see it and I will respond to it in the podcast specifically. If you have not had an energy healing session, I do Reiki specifically, but if you have never had an energy healing session or you're curious at my expertise in the energy healing sessions, I do have a promotion running. You can only get the coupon through my newsletter. So go on my website, michelleshealinghaven.com, and sign up. Anybody that signs up in June, I will resend out the newsletter to you so that you get the coupon code. Thank you to everybody here today. I hope everybody has a phenomenal day, a phenomenal week. Continue to have a phenomenal year. Make your canvas bigger. Allow yourself to give time to you. You deserve it. All right? Love, light, and positive vibes.